Hello, everybody.
Hi.
It's Amanda here and Benjamin. We are going to wait just a minute and let everyone come on. And I've got my computer down here, so if you see me do this, it's because I'm on my computer.
She's watching Netflix.
I'm not watching Netflix. So, Stephanie Simmons, are you here? And so this is our first Facebook Live that we're doing with Saponification Nation. I did one earlier today in another group that I run for people writing ebooks, and it was a lot of fun. So we want to start doing things like this, answering questions, doing soap making demos, talking business and marketing, and things like that. So thank you for joining us. We'll just wait another minute. You have any good jokes, Benjamin?
No, not good jokes
today.
I do. This is the first time I've done Facebook Live, so this will be cool to really get going and do this more often.
Yeah.
Especially since we're really, for the last year or so, well, longer than that, last couple of years, we have really changed our mindset and we've had a whole paradigm shift as a couple, and then as sort of a household income / business group, if you could call us that. But anyway, we've really had a heart to help people, and we're kind of coaches by nature. We obviously do a lot of coaching and consulting and teaching for the Love and Soap Project, and we thought to ourselves, duh, why can't we do the same thing here in the States with for-profit businesses, with folks such as yourself who are on this call or who are on Facebook Live, so you can learn as much as you can. So it made sense for us to kind of go that route, and so here we are. So we're excited about this.
We are. So most of you know us, but for those of you that don't, we're just going to introduce ourselves really quickly, and then we'll just get right into talking about wholesaling your handcrafted soap. So my name is Amanda Aaron. This is my husband, Benjamin. We are married, and we're both soap makers. Soap making actually brought us together. We met at a soap conference and then fell in love from there. But anyways, I started making soap in 2008, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. I started with melt and pour soap, which is what a lot of people, maybe a lot of you have done, and then quickly jumped into making cold process soap. I sold for a little bit, but then I quickly started teaching classes and blogging, and I fell in love with the education side of soap making. So I quit selling soap, and all I've done since is taught other people how to make it. So I used to do classes, I publish ebooks, do e-courses, and just try to teach as many people as I can. And I'll let Benjamin tell you a little bit about him.
Let's see. I was the youngest of three, born in 1982. No. I started making soap in 2009. My mom taught me, right around there, 2008, 2009, my mom taught me how to make soap. And literally after my first batch of soap, I wanted to start a business, and we did. So a month later, my mom and my brother and myself all were the managing members of a newfound business. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I had no formal business education whatsoever, but I really, really, really wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I really wanted to make this business work. And so through years of failing forward and lots of agitation and hustle, we created Prairie Soap Company, and we eventually got into a 1,800 square foot storefront in a big shopping center, and we wholesaled nationwide in national health food chain stores like Whole Foods, Sprouts, Lucky's, Natural Grocers, Vitamin Cottage, kind of places like that. We were kind of branded ourselves as a natural soap company, and so that was kind of our market to hit. That was our demographic. And in doing that, I met Amanda through the trade, through this industry, and found out what she was doing with what wasn't the Love and Soap Project quite yet, but she invited me to come along after we donated to her cause, and then we co-founded the Love and Soap Project. And that's really been our main jib for the last couple of years in this industry, especially for me, because I actually closed the doors to my store as a for-profit and went the nonprofit world. But then lastly, I did start a men's grooming care company called the Imperial Drifter, and it's been a really fun experiment in branding, and it's still going on now. You can check it out at imperialdrifter.com.
Great. So now that you know a little bit about us, thank you for joining, everyone. We have Dee's here, Chris Colin, Trisha, Stephanie. Thanks for joining. So tonight is all about wholesale. We're going to discuss various wholesale topics. If you have a question about wholesaling your products, please just type it in the chat box. And as Benjamin is kind of answering questions and talking, I'm going to maybe go like this so I can actually see the chat box and chat and write down some of your questions to ask him. But let's go ahead and get started. I know some of you have already asked questions, and so we're just going to jump right into it. First of all, how do you get started wholesaling your products?
That's a pretty general question. Well, let's set the logistics aside for just a second. I guess I would answer that. You'd really have to step back and look at your business and ask yourself, have you branded your company appropriately? And branding is such a gitchy term these days, but it matters. For example, like let's say you're a super fruity tooty soap company that uses lots of fluorescent colors and lots of synthetic scents and fragrances and things. And the name of your company is like Susie's Suds and Bubbles. Chances are you're not going to wholesale to a natural health food store, right? Because those don't jibe together. There's nothing wrong with either. Don't get me wrong there. You can have a really, really fun branding experience for your customers. But my point is, you have to really pick and choose, who your company is. Like you've heard this probably before, if your company was a person, what would they be like? Where would they shop? Who would they hang out with? Those type of things. So your branding scheme really has to be sound. And really what most people don't understand about branding, in my opinion, the fundamental issue that you're trying to get to with branding is finding out who your customer is. Who's going to buy from you based on what they can see visually and through your content, through your marketing. Who are you attracting? And the same thing applies to wholesale. Who are you attracting? Are you attracting mom and pop shops? Are you attracting high-end boutiques? Are you attracting natural health food stores? And it really all depends on what you look like and what you're conveying as a company, i.e. your branding. So that's where you have to start. So if you haven't got that down yet, if you aren't 110% sure about your packaging, if you're not 110% sure about your logo, if you're not 110% sure about your website, all those things, you got to back up. You can't go into wholesale world without all those things being at the ready and to your liking and as perfect as you want it to be.
Okay, good. So the first lesson is, make sure you are a well-branded company and you've gone through the process of deciding who you are, and then that will match up with who you go after for retail partners. So if you, if like you said, if you make a bright pink, fruity tooty fragrance soap, it's probably not going to be something for Whole Foods, and then vice versa. There's boutiques that sell the real girly, frilly things. You're probably not going to sell just a naturally colored bar of soap. And maybe you can, but you get the idea with what we're saying. Okay, so after you are a well-branded company, you're happy with everything, how do you look for retail stores to partner with when it comes to wholesaling?
I did the cheat sheet method. Find other companies that are similar to yours online. Okay? So depending on, again, what your branding is like and all that, find similar companies to you as yours, products-based companies. So they don't have to be other soap companies. Please keep that in mind. Grab a few of those, a handful of those, but look outside of our industry too, but keep in mind how you brand your company, looking at other products-based businesses, and go to each of their websites and find their store locator page. Chances are they have a store locator page, or sometimes I see it called stockists, things like that. But basically, and you've seen them, and you probably have them on your website, some of you, but it's a page dedicated to where all the products can be found across the country if indeed they wholesale. So all their retail accounts. Then make a list of all the potential retail stores that you see on all these like-minded companies that kind of fit your description, that parallel with what you're doing as a company. Make that giant list and then start calling. So that's the easy, really, really easy way. I mean, I kind of feel like it's a shortcut, but hell, we're all solopreneurs, and you got to do whatever you can to try and make it. So that was a really easy way to get customers for me.
Yeah, so for example, with our men's grooming business, Imperial Drifter, one of the brands that Benjamin went and looked at was Beard Brand. So they're like the #1 beard oil, seller out there. And on their website, they have a stockist or store locator page. So he could actually see, oh, all of these stores are interested in this type of product. So he contacted a lot of them, and we got some wholesale accounts that way. So I don't know if that, to some of you, that might seem a little, I don't know, like sneaky or something, but it's just doing your homework. It's doing your research, and it's a very smart way to find stores to sell your products in. So don't be worried about, doing that.
Another, to top that off, I actually, and this was naive on my part, but when I started the Imperial Drifter and started looking for wholesale accounts, so potential retailers, for whatever reason, I didn't think that beard oil was a big thing in barbershops. Come to find out it is. But when I looked at other beard companies and saw their stockist lists and realized that how many barbershops they were in, I didn't go to necessarily those barbershops that I saw on their list. I went to all the local ones around us. So it was, again, it's a brain bath in figuring out kind of more concepts that you can get into based on companies that are like yours.
Yeah, so it might give you ideas that you didn't think about.
Right.
And kind of open you up to new avenues. So, great. So, thanks everybody for joining us. We really appreciate it. I think there's like a subscribe button. So, be sure to subscribe because we are going to do some more of these in the future. But we're going to keep going. We're not done yet. All right. So, now that you're well branded and you have some ideas of stores to approach, how do you reach out to them? What do you send to them? Do you call them? Do you email them? Do you visit them? What do you do?
All the above. If they're local, find the time to go in and make your presence felt. All the cliche sales things like dress the part. What I do is I have, and these little things that matter, because some of us, for those of you who are introverted or ambiverts or who don't think that they're good at sales, and you're the only one in your business, you're the solopreneur, that means it's on you to go into these stores and do it. At some point, if you want your company to grow, you got to buck up and do it. And so the easiest way to do it is, like I said, dress the part, walk in with your chin up and your chest out, and find the buyer. So usually when I walk into stores, depending on the type of store it is, I always ask if I could talk to the purchasing manager. And then I introduce myself, engage them, and as much human contact as possible without it being weird. So a good firm handshake, things like that, because that stuff really matters on a social, psychological level in sales. And what I do is I never ask for a sale on the first trip in. If this is a face-to-face local thing, I never ask for a sale. I just introduce myself. I give them samples. I don't do half samples. I don't half-ass the samples. It's the full Monty. If it's soap, it's the full package soap. If I wholesale 8 different varieties, I give them 8 different varieties. If it costs you $1 to make the soap, you've lost $8, and you can chalk it up to advertising and promotion. So don't half-ass things like that. Don't give them like a little wax paper cut sliver of soap. It's not going to last. They're probably going to throw it away, or it's going to get all crumbly in their purse, whatever. Give them the full thing. Especially since with soap, they'll bring it home, and if they have 8, they'll pass them around to their employees or whatever. Maybe they'll take them all. They'll go home, they'll use it, their family will use it, they'll see it in the shower, it'll become a conversation piece at dinner. So it stays on their mind, it creeps into their subconscious. So this is really, really, really important.
Okay, so we have a couple questions. So
yeah.
You answered one of them. So do we send samples? No. If you can, send full-size products, because that's actually going to show them, like Benjamin said, what the product is. They can visualize it on their shelves. If you're sending in just a little sliver, and here's the thing about sending full-size samples. When it comes to like selling your products, it's not always about the product. Most of the time it's about the brand and the packaging and the way it displays. And so they're going to have to, be able to visualize your product on their shelf, okay? So don't send samples, send full-size products. And then Trisha's asking, is it better to call first and make an appointment?
No, not necessarily. You can walk in, and then unless it's like a really out of your way type of thing where it's really an impediment on your time. If it's close by, again, we're just right now just talking about local walk-ins. I would really still try and just walk in and do it. There's nothing wrong with calling in and making an appointment though, but that shields them in saying no. When I had my retail store, I had salespeople come into me all the time trying to sell light fixtures for advertising and yellow pages, all that stuff. They would never call me because I would just say no on the phone. So, but when they got in the door, they did their spiel, they asked me the questions, and then they would offer up a sale. So it's an effective way to do it. But my take on that is to not be pushy. And again, never ask for a sale on your first trip in. What I do is all the things I've already said. I give them the product. I give them materials, which I guess we'll talk about, and shake their hand and say, look, I really want to start a partnership with you guys. I want to start a relationship with you guys. I literally say those words. Like I want to say either partnership or relationship or something like that. And then I smile, shake their hand, and walk out the door. And then 7 to 10 days later, 2 weeks later, I call. You can either go in or call, and ask them how they liked it, and ask them which ones their favorites were, what'd you think, pros and cons, that kind of thing. And just to hit on what kind of we both said, as far as I can't emphasize enough, not to give little cuts, slivered samples of soap. Do the full thing, because again, all of us handcrafters, we're fighting for inches on the shelves, and the retailers, the purchasing managers, they need to know literally how big the units are and how many they can come across on a shelf, what they're going to have to move out of the way to make room for a new product, those kind of things. So that really matters.
Okay, Trisha, you're welcome. And another thing in regards to that is make sure when you walk into a store that you ask for the right person. So don't simply hand your stuff to the clerk who's ringing people out. Make sure that you're asking for the purchasing manager, or someone who makes the decisions as to what products the store carries.
Real quick too.
Yes.
As far as, again, to get away the jitters of selling, of walking in and actually doing this, because I used to be really scared to do this.
Shot of tequila first.
No, but what I ended up doing, and I do to this day in my coaching and in everyday conversation with people at line at the DMV, you just start asking them questions. Ask questions. Make it all about them. Like, it's almost like a reverse interview. It's really strange because if you walk in, you kind of feel like you're the one on the spot. But to switch that really quickly is to confidently come up, again, introduce yourself, do that whole spiel, but then start asking them questions. Like, hey, how long have you worked here? How long have you been the manager here? How long has this store been open?
What's your favorite product?
What's your favorite product in the body care section? All this stuff. What's working for you? How's sales been this month? Make it all about them, and it relaxes them like you would not believe, and then it gives you more confidence to do what you have to do to make the sale.
Yes. So we had someone ask, okay, so we'll talk about price sheets and all that in just a minute. Actually, we'll talk about that right now. So what are some of the things as far as like line sheets, price sheets, things like that you need to
I
work with retailers?
I printed out my catalog for the Imperial Drifter, and this is something that I designed myself, keeping in mind that this is on 8.5 by 11 paper. So this is my catalog / line sheet all in one, and I'll explain the difference, even though these days there's not really a difference. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but I'll literally walk you through every page. Here's just the cover, the Imperial Drifter Wholesale 2016. Make it real sleek, make it simple. This is a nuanced picture of what we're trying to convey as a company. It's like a handsome gentleman. However, product would be cool too. If it was like all your products there in a really nice clean picture, that would be rad too. First page, again, is kind of our company mission. Notice how there's a lot of blank space. That was done on purpose just to kind of create a minimal look to what we're doing as a brand. All the contact information here, logo, and our mission. This is more about us, what we do. If you have any sort of cause marketing program built into your business, it would be very, very appropriate to put it into your wholesale catalog as information. Notice again, contact on every page. And then we get into the actual products themselves. So you don't have to do pictures, but I definitely would if you have good ones, if you have good product photography. And we'll give you a link to a great product photographer. Name of the product up here, generalized, and then these pictures are clear enough where you can actually see the different brand on there. And then a little synopsis of what the product does. Same thing, next page, just different product category. These are pomades. This would be like a dedicated line sheet, if you will, but it's built into the catalog itself. So a lot of times, you know, like when people say, "What's your line sheet?" Like, give me your line sheet. You know, like line sheets to me are like, you know, the Frito-Lay's guy who's restocking the chips at the grocery store. He's got a line sheet, like a reorder form and a line sheet that he gives to the purchasing managers, and it's like a little jot down thing. We're in an artisan world in this industry, so you got to step your game up a little bit, in my estimation. And so have a formal line sheet where it's really nice and easy to read. Product, UPC code, price. That's it. But build it into your catalog, if you will. So again, name, UPC code, unit of measure. So beard oil 1 ounce, that would be unit of measure. The wholesale price, and then the SRP, which is suggested retail price. And I'll probably talk about that in a bit more, but SRPs are really important to put on your line sheets and catalogs and things. The retailer needs to know how much they can charge for your product and how not to undercut, how you as the producer, and if you have your own website, how you can't undercut them by selling at a lower price than what you're suggesting they sell it at. So that's really important. Also, minimum right here. So here's my minimum order that they have to buy. And then this is really cool, and I think this really helps out retailers, this is my purchase history based on percentages of each variety of what I sell. So this one sells more than anything, so chances are, of course, they're going to buy more of that if indeed that's how you build up your order forms. In this company, it's a catch-all. They don't have to have minimums of anything. They just have to have a minimum amount purchased, period. So they could buy 47 of one thing and 2 of another, and that's okay. They don't have to do minimums on everything. With soap, and what I did with my company with soap is we had minimums you had to buy per unit. So we wholesaled 8 different soaps, and our retailers had to buy 2 case packs of each per order. And a case pack for us, which is completely arbitrary, it's completely up to you, a case pack for us was 8 soaps. They had to buy 2 of each. So if they wanted lavender, they had to buy 16 soaps. Furthermore, they had to buy all 8. So they had to buy 8 times, or they had to buy 1 times 16, 1 times 16, they go to 8, whatever that is. That's how I did it. And the reason I came up with that is because I actually found from Uline, I don't know if you guys can see this, but in Uline I found these case boxes. This is from my book, How to Wholesale Your Handcrafted Soap. But I found these 8-inch boxes that actually fit my 8 soaps perfectly. So I thought, okay, that's a really nice way for me to not have to worry about bubble wrap and all that kind of stuff, the logistics. So then I came up with, okay, well I'm wholesaling 8 soaps, so each soap came in a case pack. So that's how we sold our soap, is in case packs of 8. Furthermore, from Uline, we found a box that perfectly fit these 8 case pack boxes. So this is the cross section, this is the top. So when we got an order out, we knew that because we set up our terms and conditions to where they had to buy this much every single purchase. There was no exceptions to that. They literally had to buy this many every single time. And so then we knew we could pack them up into these 8 case packs. In fact, after they were cured and boxed, we actually just put them in here and waited to wholesale. Then we put them into this box and we shipped them. No bubble wrap, none of that stuff. It became really logistical and easy, and it was really easy for the retailer as well.
Okay, question.
Yes.
All right, so this is from Glenda. All right, is there an optimal number of products or scents to present when trying to wholesale? So when it comes to developing a wholesale line, do you wholesale every single thing that you make, or do you try to simplify it?
Lord, no. Especially if, if you're the only one making stuff, which a lot of us are, or even if you have a helper, point is, really simplify your menu. Like, have you guys all seen the Fix My Restaurant shows where the big mean chef guy comes in and he fixes all the restaurant? He always says, simplify your menu. You're offering too much. And the reason he does that is because by offering too much, you have to buy all this stuff. You have to buy all these raw materials, and it costs a lot of money. Like, when I think of wholesale, I think, we're counting pennies because you're reducing your price. You can't sell it as much as retail. So cutting costs in every single facet of your business is important. So think about, like, when I think of wholesale, I think of a company like Carmex. They're known for one thing. Now they have like 4 or 5 things now that they sell, a couple of different fragrances and stuff. But literally for like 30 or 40 years, they sold one thing, and they did it really, really, really well. So that's what you're aiming at, especially, again, since you're a solopreneur. Why would you offer 28 to 30 things and then try and get into, 40 to 60 stores? It's not really conducive to growing your business in a really functional way over time. Maybe you can get there, but just starting out, I would really simplify things. So even like 6 to 8 soaps, maybe even 4 soaps, make them your 4 best sellers and sell the shit out of those 4 instead of trying to offer 20. And I made that mistake too. I started out selling 18. I started to wholesale 18, and I couldn't keep up, which is a good problem to have. But then my retailers were starting to get pissed off that they weren't getting things on time, and it was pulling my hair out. So then I reduced it to 8, and I didn't have a problem anymore. Not to mention the fact that those were my 8 best sellers. So I actually made more money in the end by reducing my menu, if you will.
Yeah, and that's just for wholesale. Like, when you go to your craft shows, and if you have a retail store, then make everything that you want to make. And, he did that
Right.
with his store, Prairie Soap Company. You'd walk in the store, and there would be, 50 types of soap. But we're just talking wholesale, so make it really easy, make it really streamlined, especially if you're just getting started. So another question.
Real quick.
Yes.
Paperwork. So we talked about
paperwork.
We talked about the catalog. So if you don't have one of these bad boys designed, either design it yourself or find a designer who can do this type of thing. It's important. You can always get them professionally printed, but then you have to buy 200 or 300 of them or whatever to get a good price. And then if something changes, you're screwed. So I literally design it on where I can print it off here at home on a laser printer or whatever. Secondly, as far as paperwork goes, you need a W-9. Chances are they're going to ask you, your potential retailer will ask you for a W-9, which all that is it's a certification that you are a business, basically. It's a taxpayer information thing. You go to the IRS, you search W-9, you print it off, and then you fill out the information. You either put in your EIN number if you have an EIN, or you put in your social, I believe, if you're a sole proprietor. But anyway, that just is a verification for them that you are, in fact, a business. So have that at the ready. So what I do is, on my desktop, on my computer, I have a wholesale folder, and in it is my catalog, a blank W-9, and the third thing is your insurance, your certificate of insurance, product liability insurance. And if you don't have, most, I think, start out at 1 million, covering for 1 million. A lot of companies, depending on the company, they'll ask for at least 2 million. And if you have a 1 million right now, I think the additional to get the 2 million, I think, is only like $50 or $60 extra per year. So it's worth doing. Like Whole Foods, for example, they won't let you in unless you have at least 2 million in product liability insurance. So those three things are really important to have. And then a fourth thing, if you really want to impress them, is a PowerPoint. So this is really big these days, is to send a PowerPoint with all of your information to the companies with basically it's just a rad like story of your business with really nice pictures and really nice information. It hits home two things. One, it impresses the purchasing manager, and two, they can then show their store associates this is what this company is all about, so it will stick in their mind, so then they can sell it to the end consumer a little bit better.
Great. Okay, so we have a couple questions. How many recipes did you have when you wholesaled your soap?
I had 8 soaps. The base of each soap was exactly the same. The only thing that changed was the scent and the color for each soap. Therefore, I was able to master batch very large quantities and then switch them out, take them out and then do the appropriate scents and colors for each variety. But the base was the same. And again, that's really, really, really important. You don't have to do this for market and go into craft shows and things like that. But if you want to get into the wholesale game, make it as easy as possible for yourself.
Right. Okay, good. And how do you deal with adding shipping charges to your wholesale orders?
That's a really interesting question. A lot of times in a wholesale catalog, you could have a page called Terms and Conditions. And then in that Terms and Conditions page, line out your shipping. Now, in a wholesale scenario, when you're selling to retailers or potential retailers, they know what they have to order from you based on your wholesale, what you've told them, this is the minimum you have to buy from us to get this price, right? So you know that you're going to be selling this lot of this many units of your product. Therefore, you can equate the shipping pretty quickly because you already know the size that the weight and the size that you're going to be shipping to these folks. And so the only difference then is the distance between where you are and that potential retailer. So you could do it you could just have a flat fee because again, they're going to buy at least this much. And so this is the shipping period. You tack on $15 to this order and that's flat rate shipping. You're going to make money on some and you're going to lose money on some. And that's the pros and cons of flat rate shipping, but honestly, that's kind of the easiest way to do it, and most importantly, it's easiest for them.
Yeah, and also I think a lot of retailers also are set up where they can provide you with their shipping account. So just put that in your terms, like it's on them to provide their UPS or FedEx shipping account, and then you'll ship on their account. And a lot of retailers are used to doing that. Right. What about local orders? Because I know you used to deliver local orders.
Yeah, I did what's called a DSD, which is direct service delivery, and I still charged for that. I charged, I think, $10 if it was local. Like if it was in 40 miles or something from our store, and we felt like we had the time to deliver it, we would do a direct service delivery, charge $10, and then you can get in there and peruse around a little bit and ham it up with the purchasing managers and what have you. So it's definitely worth doing if it's a local deal, but you definitely charge for it. Because it's your time.
Right, and you're using gas. But it is, like you said, it's a good opportunity to really, like, to say, hey, how's it going? how are the products selling?
Right.
And you can also take the time to kind of educate them on your products and stuff. So, Kimmy Pie, labeling. Is it standard to use our own business labels, or are the retailers providing their own labels? So when you are wholesaling your products, you are providing them with your labeled products. So you are taking care of the labeling.
You're talking about either selling your product or private labeling. Private labeling would be a scenario in which you would make the product and then use their labels, i.e. their company name and all that. And then somewhere on the label it would say distributed by your company, so that's manufactured by. So that's private label. I don't think I ever once did private label for anything. I just didn't get into that because I didn't really want to mess with, unless I could give them naked soap and then they took care of the labels. I felt like I didn't have the time to mess with their stuff and get their stuff right. Because if you do that, then you're gonna spend a lot of time on your own labels. You're gonna have to go find the right dimensions, all that kind of stuff, get their logo. It's kind of a pain in the ass. So I never really did private labeling unless it was really, really, I could see a scenario where I would if it was worth it money-wise. But, we got boxes professionally printed, and we got them, I think we bought close to 12,000 boxes for our soaps. So I was going to use those up. I wasn't going to do private labeling. So definitely brand your products, make your own labels or boxes, packaging, however, and then sell it that way.
Okay, so Glenda has a great question. Do you add sales tax to wholesale orders?
No sales tax on wholesale orders. The end consumer will incur that sales tax. So you charge, if you're selling soap for $4 wholesale, you sell it to them for a flat $4, then they're gonna buy it from you for $4, and then they're gonna sell it for like $7.99, and then they're gonna charge tax. That's a really good question. Yeah.
Okay, and I know a lot of times you can ask for their what would be retail license.
Retailer's license.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can always ask for the retailer's license, and that's good on your part because if you ever get audited by the feds, and you say, okay, I've been selling to this store down the street, and I've never charged sales tax, reason being because it's another business, and they're selling it to their end consumer, and then the IRS guy would say, okay, well, prove it to me with their retailer's permit or whatever it's called, certificate.
Sales and use ID. Thank you, Jessica.
Yeah, which, that's kind of, that's a little bit alarmist, but, it's worth doing, for sure.
Definitely. Okay, so we've had a couple questions about pricing, but I think pricing can be its own live discussion. So why don't we plan on doing a pricing discussion next week, and we'll go over all that. So do you change product line by season, or is it set?
You can. What I would do is, again, simplify your menu, keep it really nice and tight. Maybe 6 to 8 soaps, and then tell your retailer that, we're going to have these winter soaps come in starting in mid-September, and we're going to run them through mid-January. Are you interested? So you can definitely add things. If they're up for it, you can definitely add seasonal stuff to your line, for sure. Yeah.
Great question. I think next someone was asking about getting your products into like Whole Foods, natural grocers, Sprouts, bigger retailers. Do you have any advice? Or why don't you tell your story on to how you kind of started that?
Yeah, so I got into Whole Foods. Whole Foods was the hardest to get into. We got into a lot of natural health food chain stores, and what I learned from Whole Foods was I then turned around and used for everyone else, and it worked. So the first time is there's 4 Whole Foods local to us. Like literally, I can drive to them. So I started out there. So I drove into a local Whole Foods and did my whole sales spiel. Well, at the time, I didn't have great packaging, so they took a look at it, they sniffed it once and said, no. They literally just told me, no, this isn't going to work here. It doesn't look good enough. And so I sobbed for a couple hours and then realized, okay, I need to really step my game up in regards to how I brand, which is the first thing I talked about. We rebranded, we got professionally printed boxes, we did that whole spiel. UPC codes, that was a big thing that we had to do that Whole Foods wouldn't do. They don't allow products in without a UPC code. So it was a big learning lesson for me. So anyway, I went back then with, and this was probably 6 or 8 months later, I went back with my full nice new packaging, and it was a different person at this time. And they said, maybe, but I'll have to ask the regional manager. So, long story short, Whole Foods, I think, has 4 or 5 different buying regions. And in Kansas City, Missouri, we're in the Rocky Mountain region. So there's like 35 or more stores in the Rocky Mountain region. And the head of that region is the decision maker. So I then, once I discovered that, I realized, okay, I need to get a hold of this person. So the person in the local store, I asked for that person's information. They gave it to me. So I wrote him a letter. And it was a very genuine letter, and I included in it all of the stuff that we've talked about and our soap, all 8 of our beautifully packaged soaps. And in my letter, I was like, look, we're an up-and-coming business. We're a perfect fit for you guys. Like, I really pushed home the fact that we may be small, but we're enterprising, and, this is going to be a really great fit. And a couple months later, we got in. And so it's really the point, I guess the moral of the story is you got to find the right person to talk to. The right person to talk to in Whole Foods is going to be the I think they're called regional buyers. So you got to find the regional buyers' information. And it's hard to find on their websites, but if you go into your local stores, if you have one local to you, ask them, hey, what region are we in? And then ask for that regional buyer's name, and they'll give you that information gladly, because they're busy stocking shelves and stuff. They didn't want to talk to you, so they'll give you the information, and you can go from there. And that's how I got into every other national health food store, chain store across the country. Is the same method. You got to find the buyer.
Great. Okay, so and here's the thing about the big chain stores. They're not for everybody, and they're not for every business. Benjamin, his products were very well branded to fit into that market, and so your products might not fit into that market, and that's okay. There's other places to sell. So we had a quick question about insurance. So product liability insurance, there's lots of places to get it. You can get it at Handcrafted Soap Makers Guild, so HSCG. You can get it with Indie Business. There's also Handmade Insurance, I think it's called. You can get it. And can you think of any other?
Those are the three I know of.
Yeah, I think there's a couple smaller ones. I'll post a link to. I have a blog post about insurance. Vicky's asking, where do I order your book? So, we can talk about that real quickly. So, all of the stuff we're talking about, Benjamin actually wrote a book called How to Wholesale Handcrafted Soap. So, if you're interested in getting the book, it is at my website, loveandsoap.com, as an ebook, or you could get it on amazon.com as this printed version. And I'm going to have a coupon code for you in a bit for $5 off the ebook on my website. So thanks for asking about that. So how do you get UPC codes? Great question.
UPC codes, that's a tricky one. The foundational place to go for UPC codes is GS1. I believe it's gs1.com. I'm not positive on that, but but Google GS1 barcodes and that'll come up. So that's the mothership, if you will, for UPC codes. UPC codes are universal product codes. So if you get GS1 UPC codes, then they will work literally anywhere in the world. They are it's a universal language that can go anywhere in the world. They are expensive though, and you have to buy them in lots, and there's an annual fee to them. So because of that, there has been a lot of other companies that will commandeer, and I'm not really sure exactly the process here, but they commandeer codes from GS1, and then they're resellers basically. So that can get real hairy though. If you go that route, it's a lot cheaper to do it that way. However, you just have to make sure that that reseller company that you're going to get your UPC codes from is a genuine buyer reseller from GS1. There are lawsuits out there that range into the multi-millions because of this stuff. Because there's UPC code resellers out there that are not authenticated from GS1, and they'll sell you a barcode, and it's really a barcode for like some strawberry colored Tootsie Roll in China. So keep that in mind. Again, I'm not advocating you do one or the other. We did GS1 and we paid for it. It's expensive, but again, they're universal codes. They'll work anywhere in the world. If you buy from a reseller, make sure that they're authenticated, certified from GS1. It'll be a lot cheaper. You don't have to buy them in these big lots. Like you don't have to buy 50 at a time or 30 at a time, whatever it is, like you do with GS1. Just again, kind of cover your ass on that one. Make sure that they're the real deal. Because again, a lot of those companies they'll sell you an already used code.
Awesome.
Thanks, Diane.
Yeah, thanks. Oh, so Wholesale Supplies Plus sells insurance. Yes, they do. They part of the Handmade Insurance, and I'm going to put the link.
That's right. Yeah.
On the page. So just so you guys know, we are going to have like a show notes page where we're going to list all these links and coupon code for $5 off the ebook and all of that. And it is loveandsoap.com /Facebook Live. So LOVIN soap.com/Facebook Live. Uh-oh, we're having some people say it's frozen. If it's frozen, you're just going to have to refresh, which they won't know that because they're not watching. All right, so let me just let's see, back through the...
Let me say something really quick on pricing, because I know that's a big one.
Yes.
There is a there's a formula out there that's been around for a while, and it's something like the cost of all your raw materials, and then you add labor to that, and you times that by 2, and that's your wholesale, and then you times that by 2, and that's your retail. Don't do that. Don't do that. Research. Do a little bit deeper research for your company and yourself, because that's not always the case. If you're charging, you're really going to shoot yourself in the foot if you do it that way. What you really want to do is find the market value for what you're selling, what you can get away with on the market itself. And handcrafted soap is kind of strange in that you can find it for $3, you can find it for $12. But depending on how you brand your products, and I know that word keeps coming up, but again, depending on how you brand it, is really depends on how much you can sell it for. So if you have a really nicely branded product, you can charge $8 for a bar of soap, or maybe even $10 online, versus if you had it, your packaging was a little inferior to what's really nice and plush out there, and then you might only be able to get away with selling it for $5 or whatever. So my point is, don't do that formula. That's kind of a myth, and I don't know why that came about or where it came about. It might be handy for some things, but do a little bit more research and figure out what you can sell your soap for. Don't just follow that formula. Perfect example is beard oil. I sell 1 ounce bottles of beard oil for $24, and we all know that the stuff that I put in that bottle does not cost that much at all. As a matter of fact, the packaging, the bottle, the lid, the sticker, all the stuff inside is costing me like $1.50. But there's a market value, a perceived market value out there that beard oil costs a lot of money. It's kind of like cologne. Same thing. Cologne costs pennies to make, but you can sell it for, 3 digits. So go off of that with your pricing. First of all, figure out how much everything's costing you, and then go out there and look at the market and see what you can get away with selling it at based on how it looks. Don't just go off some silly formula that I don't know where it came from.
Good. Okay. So, what other questions do we have? Are you guys still with us? We have a few people that...
Oh, here's a good one. Do you ever use outside sales?
Oh, that's great.
Or do it all yourself? Yeah, I've definitely used sales reps in the past, and it's worked out for the most part. They definitely, if you're going to hire a sales rep, do your homework on them. Like, really, if you interview them, if you call them up, if they contact you, like, really figure out what they're all about. Most importantly, figure out what else they're selling. You obviously don't want a sales rep who's selling something similar to yours, because then they're going to go to a potential retailer and offer up the choice, and you don't want that. So definitely get as much information as you can out of a potential sales rep, for sure. And you can find sales reps anywhere. But yeah, do your homework, because they're not going to work they're just not going to work as hard as you. I mean, I shouldn't say that, but I will say a blanket statement in that since you are the head of your business, no one's going to work harder than you. So keep that in mind and really, really, really give them sound and clear instructions on what to do and how to do it for your business, because they represent you.
That's good. So any more questions?
There was a question on Facebook about, it doesn't really have anything to do with wholesale, but it was about how do you work from home or how do you work full-time and still try and pull this off?
Oh, so if you have a part-time or a full-time job, how do you work on your soap business to make it successful?
And I don't know, that struck me as a good question, even though I don't have an answer to it. Like, first of all, logistically speaking, you have to make the best use of your time on weekends and evenings. You got to hustle. Secondly, you have to have very, very, very clear goals, and you have to know that it's going to take you a little bit longer than someone who doesn't have a full-time or part-time job, but you still have to hustle nonetheless. Latest statistics say that the average American watches, on average, about 5 hours of television a night. You can't be one of those people. Making a successful career out of a products-based business that you create yourself, you have to work your ass off, and you have to be at it tirelessly. You have to hustle beyond measure, and it's going to be really, really tough to do that when you work full-time and part-time or whatever. At some point in that line of hustle, you will have to make that leap. You have to, because you can't do both full time, and you got to follow your passion at some point. And if you feel good about it, you gotta have to make that leap. You can't do both.
Yeah, I think you kind of touched on it, but having really clear goals as to what you want to accomplish, and then doing everything you can to accomplish those goals. So really weeding out what isn't helping your business, what's just busy work, what's not stuff that you have to do. So there's something called, and I know a lot of you are probably parents, but there's something for business owners. It's called like the baby effect on your business. And people that, like, especially entrepreneurs like us, women, we have a baby, and then something happens where you become super focused, and you end up 2-timesing or 4-timesing your business, because after having a baby, you just get this super focus, and you know exactly what you're supposed to do. So you can almost like kind of try to have that, like your work is your distraction, it's your baby, it's your time, away from your business. And so when you're working on your business, you have to be super focused and know exactly what you're supposed to be doing. So,
here's a question. How would you set up if you have customers who would like to sell your products? Shoot, do it. You would have to really negotiate a price and then tell them what to sell once they buy it from you, then they would have to sell it. But if that's the case, if what you're asking is somebody wants to buy it from you so then they can resell it, that's sort of like an MLM thing. The only thing I would caution you about that is you would be selling to someone who doesn't have a business, and so that whole retailer's license thing would come into play. So you have to be kind of careful about that. If you were to sell it to someone, even if it's a customer who doesn't have a business, and knowing that they're going to then turn around and sell it, that can get real sticky. But if they're licensed to do that kind of thing, then yeah, heck yeah. But if they're not, I would stay away from that, because then you were basically selling something and not charging sales tax for it. So then you could get into some trouble.
That's a good point. So if you have a friend wanting to sell it, then they need to buy it wholesale from you and be like a wholesale customer, set up with the business and all that, I guess. So Trisha has a great question. So when you wholesale your products, and what happens if the retailer can't sell them? Are you required to buy them back? Like, what happens? No returns? Are there returns?
That's on you to decide. So in your terms and conditions page, which you can set up basically, again, in your wholesale catalog, or if you go in and talk to the folks, whatever, you have your shipping terms, you have a return policy, and your return policy is whatever you want it to be. I would say no returns unless it's damaged on shipping. That's what my policy is on stuff like that. No returns whatsoever unless something's screwed up in shipping, and then we'll take care of it. If it's not selling, it sucks, but it's kind of on them, because you've done your part, and I don't want to sound too hasty there, but you've done your part. You've sold them the products. You've told them how to sell it. You've given them all the information. Now it's on them to sell it, and so they are kind of stuck with it, so to speak, if they can't sell it or whatever. So you've done your part. They have to do their part in selling it.
Now, with that said, some huge retailers like Macy's, or what's that store we went into the other day? I love that store.
I don't know.
I can't remember. Some bigger retailers do have like a thing where, a wholesale contract or whatever, where it does have a buyback, stipulation. So just be sure whatever you sign with them, just read your contract and keep that in mind.
That's true. Yeah.
But those, we're talking like Macy's, I don't know, just really high up their stores that you might not be pursuing yet.
Speaking of that, we got a few questions about Whole Foods and my experience with Whole Foods. My first round it killed me.
Oh, yeah.
But my first round of orders from them was completely free. And that's mandated by Whole Foods. They set the terms because they're Whole Foods, and I accepted the deal. And so I was up for it. But the reason they do that on first-time potential stockists, they basically ask, hey, we're going to get this first order for free from you. And if it doesn't sell, then we're not out anything. So that's the way to cover their butt, and that's why they make so much money. And again, I agreed to it, so I was cool with it, and it worked out because eventually we had more sales. Wholesale is a long term thing. It's a long term thing. So like when you walk into a company, when you walk into a store and you want to sell your products, oftentimes I will say to the potential purchasing manager, I want to be in your store 15 years from now. Like I want to have them know that I'm on your side, I got your back, and we're in this for the long haul. And so that whole thing with Whole Foods about, they accept the orders for free on the first go. They basically want to see if you're game for doing this in the long term.
Yeah. Okay, so Dee has a good question. How do you plan stock for wholesale? So what's your lead time for orders? How do you manage your stock?
I'm big on, because we live in a day and age of quick, you need to have everything at the ready all the time. So, again, in your terms and conditions page, you can say your turnaround time from ordering is 7 to 10 business days or 7 to 14 business days, something like that. Soap is tricky because of the cure time. It's a lot easier for me to do this with beard oil and pomade because you can make it next day, you can sell it. Soap is a little bit trickier, but it's a tough question to ask because it depends really on how many retailers you currently have or want to have, and then you kind of have to work backwards. And I say that a lot to people. I say that a lot to people that I coach, is work backwards. So if the goal is I want 30 retailers by November 1st, 2017, you can literally work back into the day on how much you need to keep in stock at all times. Let's say that they reorder at a rate of every 3 weeks, and their reorder rate is 120 bars or whatever. Maybe it's 120 bars every month. You can back into that, times it by however many clients you have, and work that out. But that's a really, really tricky one to answer, especially if you're first starting out, because you literally have no clue, what you're up against. But always keep a lot, I would say at least keep 4 or 5 sales worth potential in stock at all times for any given retailer that might come calling. So at least 4 or 5, and then once you get down to 2 or even 3, start cranking up production again.
Yeah, and maybe when you're first starting and you don't know, how much you're going to make, maybe you could have a lead time of 5 weeks, or, that's not ideal, but starting out.
Yeah. It's really what you can get away with as a solopreneur. I can tell you though that they're not going to love that.
Yeah,
and I've dealt with enough retailers to tell you that, if it's not at their door within a week, sometimes they can get kind of cranky, especially at holiday time. If you're in the boutique market, they need that stuff quick. And a lot of times the boutique market and the really cool local shops and things like that, they're run by folks like me and you, and they're doing a million different things. And they'll ask for an order and they need it yesterday, because they're in the same boat that we are, because we're trying to do a million things at once. So try to have everything at the go as much as you possibly can, for sure.
Good. So just a couple more questions and then we're going to end it, but we're going to do more of these. So, let us know what questions you have and we can do another one in the future. But how do you educate your retailers on selling your products, and why is that important?
I would literally go, I would get in the ear of who I keep referencing the purchasing manager. That could be the business owner. It depends on the store. So like if it's a small store, it could be the business owner. He or she could be the only one in there. Or if you're getting into corporate world, it's a purchasing manager or whatever. Easiest thing to do, especially in the world of technology, is make a really nice PowerPoint. That goes a long ways. I've been trying to get into Ulta Beauty for Imperial Drifter for a while now, and they actually asked for one. And so I thought, wow, what a cool idea that is. I'm going to start doing that for everybody. So it's a really nice way, and you can send it in an email, or you can literally send it with your product samples, full product samples, to a potential retailer. So PowerPoint's the really nice way to do it, because they can then see what you're all about, get a quick rundown of who you are, and then they can show their store associates, here's how you sell this product, here's what's going on with them. So that's a really easy way to do it. And also, you can literally just give bullet points, and they love this. Purchasing managers, store owners, they love this stuff. You can email them or send it in a letter, like literally bullet points of why your product, the problems it solves, and why your product is rad compared to everyone else. They love that stuff because it only sinks into their subconscious and they blurt it out to their end consumers.
Yeah, that's great. And then I think also with like more like smaller boutiques and people you're intimate with, you know, like if you know store owners and stuff, like you could actually take your products in and show the people working there how to use them. Like, hey, let's go to the bathroom and try out this sugar scrub, and you know, here's you a couple bars of soap to take home. And then they're excited about your products because they have, you know, all of these products on their shelves, and not every one of the businesses are going to come in and actually, you know, speak to them about how to use the products and how to sell them. So you can definitely do that. Here, take a drink, Benjamin.
Thanks.
He's over here sweating. We have the AC off because it's so loud. We wanted you guys to hear us. So someone asked, what should the PowerPoint be like? So the PowerPoint should just be, you know, like beautiful pictures of your products, and like Benjamin said, just bullet points of, you know, maybe you can feature ingredients and talk about what the ingredients, you know, do, what your products are made of.
Make it fun, though. Like,
yeah.
Make it visually appealing, lots of pictures, even of you, or if you have an employee or whatever, like hawking it up and making soap and doing that kind of thing, too, because that goes a really long way. Because the old adage that you're not selling your product, you're really selling yourself, that's really true. And so conveying that visually is really, really important. And you know, you can do that through social media and all that stuff, but to literally give them a PowerPoint and, you know, like make it 2 minutes, you know, like not very long or anything, but just a quick rundown, and then just show them you know, show them how you're comfortable in what you do and how you love what you do and what you convey, that kind of thing.
Good. I think that's all we have time for tonight, but we do want to do this again. I think we could do another conversation on wholesale because there's so many questions that we didn't have time to answer. We want to do a conversation about pricing. We want to do a conversation about like cause marketing and adding a charitable aspect to your business, which is really important. My biggest thing is like online marketing, email marketing, blogging, things like that. And so I'm really going to talk a lot about those things. But if you have any other ideas, please just, you know, post in Facebook or send us an email, Amanda@loveandsoap.com. And again, the show notes for this session is at loveandsoap.com/Facebook Live. And I'm going to update the page with some links to some of the things we talked about. There's a coupon code for $5 off Benjamin's Wholesale book. And it has a lot of really good information in it on pricing your product. It really does. On pricing your products, working with retailers, and all of that. So we really appreciate you guys coming on. We enjoyed doing this. We've, you know, been trying to figure out how to work with, you know, people like soap makers more. And we were like, well, we could, you know, do a conference. We could do different things. But I think Facebook Live is great. It offers a good two-way conversation, which is what we're looking for. So thanks for being here. We really appreciate it.
And real quick.
Yes.
Please feel free to, maybe we can put this in the notes, but on my coaching page, or I'll give you my email first. It's takingaction@inspiredodyssey.com. Or you can go to inspiredodyssey.com and find out my contact information. We're not getting to everyone's questions, and so if you have questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them. And also, for God's sakes, I offer free consultations. And there's a button right on the home page. There's a button that says, click here for a free consultation. There's no obligation of any kind. I want to help. I love brainstorming and inspiring people and kind of helping them set appropriate goals for their situation. Just ethereally speaking, if you think down here on this level, you're going to get these results. If you want the results up here, you have to start thinking up here. And I can help you do that. And I promise you, I can help you do that. And so I really want you guys to keep that in mind. I just started this business like a month ago, and I'm really excited about it. So take advantage of the free consultation if you want. And email me anytime, email Amanda, and like let's always keep an open dialogue because this is what we love to do. Yep.
So again, the website's loveandsoap.com, lovinsoap.com/Facebook Live. Benjamin's coaching website, inspiredodyssey.com, and that link is going to be on the show notes page. So just check that out And we really appreciate you guys joining us. So have a good night or a good morning, depending on where you are.
Yeah.
Bye.
Blessings.